I'd always thought the shrill whistle of the Steamboat Willie cartoon was charming, until the night I heard it echo through an empty film archive at 2:13 a.m. My name's Clara Menton, Junior Restoration Tech at the Mid-Atlantic Motion Picture Museum. 2 months ago, we purchased a crate from a shuttered theater in Port Chester, New York. The manifest listed only reels, circa 1920s. When we cracked it open, it smelled of river mud and ozone, as if it had been dredged straight from the Hudson. Inside lay 6 corroded film cans, each marked 1928 in shaky pencil. But one canister had no date, no studio stamp, just 3 letters gouged into the metal lid. WIL. My manager, Doug, joked it was an early cut of Steamboat Willie. I laughed along, though the scratch mark letters looked freshly carved. Work was piling up, so the crate was shelved in the quarantine bay. 2 weeks later, Doug called in sick, violent migraines. Then Marcy, our lead archivist, sliced her palm wide open on a sprocket gear. Everyone blamed coincidence. Everyone except me. I'd heard something the night Doug fell ill, a warped calliope tune drifting from the quarantine shelves. On Friday the 16th of March, after the staff had gone home, I swiped the quarantine keycard and slipped into the bay with a flashlight and my field recorder. The air tasted metallic. Dust motes spiraled like dying fireflies. I lifted the lid of the unlabeled canister. Inside was nitrate film so brittle it crackled when I breathed. But every few frames, the emulsion looked new, as if only hours old. Inky blacks, razor whites, like a wound refusing to scab. I threaded the reel through our Moviola viewer. The first minutes matched the public domain Steamboat Willie. Mickey, though older, gaunter, piloting a boat down a black river, whistling. But the laughter track was gone, replaced by a slow heartbeat thump. At frame 841, Mickey froze mid-whistle. His pupils dilated until they swallowed his face. The next frame was a flash of handwritten text. "You're navigating the wrong waters, Clara." My recorder hissed with feedback. I slammed the stop lever. The film kept rolling. Cut to a new scene. A projection room identical to ours. Same green walls, same moviola, except the camera angle was impossible, hovering from the ceiling. On the screen within the screen, I saw myself, frozen, mouth open. Mickey stepped through the film gate, 2D morphing into wet, tar-slick shadow. He gripped a brass bosun's whistle between gloved fingers, brought it to his slit mouth, and blew. I heard it behind me in the reel room. I spun. The nitrate reel on the bench sagged, bubbling like heated plastic. Shapes moved beneath the emulsion, tiny oars dipping into liquid silver. I yanked the reel out, but the sprocket teeth wouldn't release. My flashlight flickered. In its strobe, I glimpsed silhouettes. Lank rodents in sailor caps scuttling along the walls, their grins serrated. The heartbeat on the soundtrack quickened. I grabbed scissors, severed the film, and backed toward the exit. That's when the hallway door banged shut. Something heavy scraped across the other side, sealing me in. From the moviola speaker, a voice crackled, high-pitched, cheerful, wrong. All aboard for the last voyage. I lunged for the fuse box and killed the power. Darkness swallowed everything except the screen. It still glowed, projecting nothing I could see. Yet, on the floor, a rectangle of cold light shimmered like water. I smelled river mud. A paddle wheel thumped. Real. Physical. Water sloshed around my ankles, ice cold. I shone my dying flashlight downward. The concrete had become churning black river, its surface reflecting a crescent moon. The light in my hand snuffed out, but bioluminescent shapes writhed beneath the water. Cartoon fish with human teeth. I screamed for help. No answer. Only that jaunty whistle somewhere in the darkness, circling me. Then I remembered. Nitrate burns hot. I clawed for my lighter, flicked it. The tiny flames sputtered in moist air. I pressed it to the severed film strip. The celluloid ignited with a whoosh, brilliant white. The river hissed. Cartoon fish shrieked like kettle steam. The projection screen rippled. The thing wearing Mickey's shell, staggered out. Features melting, gloves dripping tar. He raised the bosun's whistle, but now it looked organic, a hollow bone. Firelight reflected in his pupils, little silent films of every archivist who'd vanished into folklore. A French restorer who suffocated in his vault, a Japanese historian found drowned in negative wash. For a heartbeat that lasted an eternity, we stared at each other across dimensions. Me, a terrified human, it, a colonial ghost of celluloid, hungry for curators' souls. Then the sprinklers kicked on. Water doused the flames, but the nitrate kept burning, blue-white. The creature screamed, a sound like sprockets tearing flesh, and staggered back into the melting canvas. The screen sagged, dripped, dissolved. The water at my feet receded, leaving scorched concrete and piles of warped film. The lights flickered on. My watch read 2:29 a.m. Only 16 minutes had passed. I sprinted to the exit. The door swung open easily now. Down the hall, the alarm lights spun crimson. I looked back once. The moviola sat intact, but the feed tray was empty. The canister lid still on the bench bore new scratches forming a date, 25, and beneath it, my full name. Officially, the museum blamed water damage for the fire. The unlabeled reel was lost in mitigation. Doug recovered. Marcy's stitches healed. No one believed me when I told them the scorch marks on my calves were shaped like gloves. I've tried destroying the digital scan I made that night. Every time I erase it, another file appears in a new folder. Will.mov. The checksum never matches. When I play it, my speakers burst into static, and somewhere underneath I can hear river water lapping against a hull. I'm writing this as a warning. If you ever find a canister marked WIL, do not watch it. Do not digitize it. Bury it in concrete. Toss it in the deepest part of the Hudson. Pray the river keeps secrets better than nitrate does, because the whistle followed me home. At 2:13 a.m. every night, I hear it outside my window. Cheerful, taunting, getting closer. The street below floods in my dreams, and a paddle wheel's shadow crawls across the moon. Steamboat. Willie is sailing again, and this time there's room for one more passenger. Will you climb aboard?
August 30th. Staff Incident Report. I found Clara's logbook tucked behind the washing station today. She hasn't reported to work in 2 weeks. HR marked her as medical leave. Inside the notebook, her last entry is scrawled in broken lines. The river behind the film. It's widening. Every reflective surface pulses like projector light. The whistle seeped into my blood. My heartbeat sinks to its rhythm. I have 37 hours before the hull arrives. I thought it was a breakdown. Then I noticed our corridor cameras glitch every night at 2:13. The screen fills with vertical film scratches, then goes black. Security says it's power fluctuation. I'm not so sure. Tonight I searched Clara's workstation. In her trash bin lay charred scraps of nitrate. One fragment unfurled in my hands, frame 841. The cartoon mouse's pupils bloomed like twin eclipses, but instead of text beneath, new handwriting crawled across the border in fresh silver ink. Hello, Doug. Nice to see you again. My pulse synced to a faint faraway whistle. I'm beginning to smell river mud inside the ducts. If I don't clock in tomorrow, check the quarantine bay and drain any water you find.
Voice memo recovered from Clara's phone. I can't stay in the apartment. Mirrors fill up like portholes. The moonlight bends around something tall with a cap. I thought smashing the bathroom glass would help, but the shard showed different frames. Me sleeping, me drowning, me steering a wheel I don't remember touching. Listen, I copied the reel's audio spikes into a spectrogram. There's Morse code hidden in the frequencies. 7 bells, all hands below. Maritime death knell. It's calling the crew. I booked a motel by the river. I'm bringing the digitized file, encoded on a thumb drive wrapped in lead. Going to toss it off Pier 57 at high tide. If the whistle stops, you'll know I was successful. If it gets louder, burn every archive you have.
They found Clara's car 3 days later, door open, keys in ignition, parked facing the Hudson. The driver's seat was soaked with brackish water smelling faintly of old nitrate. No sign of Clara. Only a brass bosun's whistle placed neatly on the dashboard, still warm, still echoing if you leaned close enough. Maintenance dredged the pier and pulled up a rusted steamboat bell dated 1928. The clapper was missing, but when the wind blew through its hollow heart, the sound that came out was not a bell, but a single, jaunty, two-note tune. You'd recognize it anywhere. If you hear it after midnight, don't look out on the water. Keep the curtains closed, shut off every screen. And for the love of film, never, ever whistle back. Because once Steamboat Willie knows you're listening, the river will carry him to your door, and he never travels alone. He brings the whole audience with him. Seats are filling fast. Curtain rises at 2:13 sharp. Will you be watching?